How do you not start with the Knicks from last night? I mean, too soon to start worrying about this team? I don't think so. Congratulations, Knicks, because this is what expectations look like. You're losing at home to the Magic twice. Yuck. And the Magic out-hustling the Knicks. Anyone out-hustling the Knicks. I mean, where is the team that we fell in love with last season, Moose? We know they needed to add more offense and to hit more threes, but I didn't realize that was going to cause this type of identity crisis with this team. I mean, this was a team last year that had a commitment on the defensive end. They didn't turn the ball over to this alarming rate. They didn't kill themselves with stupid decision-making and penalties like they are at this alarming rate. And worst of all, you never thought they would get outplayed. You never thought the opponent was going to come in and out-hustle the Knicks. We can talk about rotations or what's wrong with Julius Randle or the home court disadvantage with the Knicks. To me, it's all about right now at this early stage in the season, they're getting out-hustled. That's unacceptable.
Well, and they're not defending. So however way you define, the hustle, they're not the defensive team that they were a year ago. And They bought into guys like Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier because they wanted to be obviously a little bit more offensive, modern day NBA game, all of that, which is great. And
they needed it.
And all that because last year we had times where you were saying, where the hell is the offense going to come from? Because they couldn't consistently knock down the outside shot. We know the point guard play has been a consistent issue, but yeah, the hustle, the lack of defense, not being a good third quarter team, not being a good finishing team, all of these things here. And it's completely changed from a year ago where they surprised us with the way that they played. Yeah. Now you come into this year, Maggie, as you mentioned, the expectations here on this Knicks team.
Listen, I've said it and I'll continue to say it. I believe that even with the additions, right, and even with Obi Toppin looking better and Emmanuel Quickley still looking great and maybe deserving a part of the starting rotation, and we can talk about the additions that they made and all of that, to me, this team still goes as Julius Randle goes because there is this pecking order that every NBA team needs, and Julius Randle has to be at the top of that pecking order. Listen, if they had brought in another superstar, then you start talking about, all right, who's going to close games? And I'm not saying that Julius Randle is going to be amazing every night or close games every night. That's why, you have a full team and a full squad. But it's just so obvious, Moose, that when he has off nights, when he starts playing iso ball, let's call it what it is, sometimes it starts to look like old Julius Randle. What I mean by that is the guy who was signed as the plan B when Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving decided to go to the Nets instead of the Knicks. And it was about the iso stuff, and it was about just trying to settle for shots that are just bad. And, this early in the season, especially when you have more help, Randle can't fall into that trap again. And you have other guys on the team who are able to contribute. It's about Thibodeau finding out about these rotations and maybe tinkering with them, although I'm not holding my breath on that. And it will always be, to me, they will go as far as Julius will take them. And when he's off, you can see the rest of the team is off.
Well, and he has a game last night where he attempts 11 shots, 10 of them from behind the arc. That's really not what Julius Randle and now how he evolved as a player last year with the Knicks and became a guy that got paid and took that contract and took a little bit of a haircut and didn't look for every single last dollar during after last year before the start of this year and signing that contract extension, Maggie. So that's not Knicks basketball. When you attempt 88 shots in the course of a game and 49 of them are three, and you're shooting 32% from behind the arc, and you make 16 threes, you make 21 two. I mean, that's just not Knicks basketball. It just isn't. I mean, they're not the Houston Rockets with James Harden and Mike D'Antoni. I mean, that's not the brand of basketball that you're talking about here. And you can't be losing to the Orlando Magic. It comes down to it. The Magic are a bad basketball team. As we're running around and talking about bing bong and all of this stuff and having fun and the Nick hype video that went crazy and all that stuff, Maggie. Mm-hmm. Here's what it comes down to. You want to be a relevant team in the Eastern Conference. You can't be losing to Orlando. You really can. After you beat Indiana, this is a stretch which the Knicks have to get a little bit healthier here in terms of the win column. And they go out last night. Third quarter continues to be an issue. Offense continues to be an issue. Lack of ball flow continues to be an issue. And as you mentioned, Julius Randle's play this year has been an issue as well. Now, maybe it has something to do with the league. I don't think it's the league catching up to Julius Randle. I don't think that. Maybe he's putting too much pressure on himself. Maybe it's the fact that all the fans are back in attendance at Madison Square Garden. I don't know exactly what it is with Randle, but he has not resembled the same player that he did last year. And, I think there's other ways for this Knicks team to win. But I understand the point that you're making in terms of Randle where, yeah, he's the Knicks star. Now, you could quantify it about where he is in the grand scheme of stars in the NBA,
right?
Top 20, top 20, wherever it might be. He is the biggest star on this Knicks team. He just is. And he's got to be better. He has got to be better. And Thibodeau talks about the hunger of Julius Randle. The Knicks can win in a down game because they have more offensive players, but when those guys aren't hitting shots, Julius Randle can't have a night last night where he's 4 of 11 from the floor and having 13 points against the Magic.
No, and that was the thing about Randle that was so amazing from last year was look at the three-point percentage and look at what he did. We talked a lot about how he worked on his body and all of that stuff, and he obviously revels in the leadership role. It's nothing about that. It's just about literally hitting shots. That's what they need from you and to play within the offense, especially in crunch time. And, I've been talking about everyone's been talking about Derrick Rose and what he's meant to this team. What a brutal turnover.
Terrible
last
turnover.
night.
But here's the other thing, Maggie, that's you had a game last night, and there have been a couple of instances here through the first 15 games of the Knicks regular season when you look at Randle, where they've been more efficient, better offensively and defensively when he's been on the bench.
Yeah, it happens, and I get bench mobs are bench mobs for a reason. They come in, they give you great minutes, they give you energy. But at this point, if you're Tom Thibodeau, you seriously have to be thinking about it. It's not just the media asking him about it after every game or fans and Knicks Twitter and everyone kind of going off about who deserves to be in the starting lineup. That part of it is alarming, and it creates a conundrum here for Tibbs because we've seen it work out both ways, and unfortunately both ways of the loss. One is that you leave the bench in because they brought you back from a double-digit deficit like in the Bucks game, and then they run out of gas in the last 3 minutes, and Pat Connaughton's raining threes all down you, and you never put the starting unit back in and you lose. Or you have what happens in several occasions and a lot like last night where you kind of do a mix and match of whether or not you're bringing in the first unit back in, and that still ends up with a loss. So it's really frustrating to watch at this point. And again, it's early, but you're looking at a Magic team, Moose, that has 4 wins on the season, and 2 of them are against the Knicks in the Garden.
And the Knicks were a 12-point favorite going into the game last night, and you mentioned it. That's embarrassing. And you look at some of the other games, there have been a lot of non-competitive games when you look at the Orlando Magic where they've gotten run out of the building, 13-point losses. They lose into the Atlanta Hawks by 18. I know Atlanta's a really good team, but you go into that game last night, that should not be a game in the fourth quarter. We should not think about, who's on the court down the stretch and where. That really shouldn't be. That should be a game in which you run. When you are right. You run Orlando out of the building. The Magic have beaten the Knicks twice this year. One time it was Terrence Ross going off where he outscored the entire Knicks team in the fourth quarter.
That was rough.
And then last night, they get outscored in the third quarter yet again. They can't hit a three if their life depends on it. They're better defensively when Randle's off the court. And we're talking about now trying to mix things up with Tom Thibodeau. And when is this team going to get right? Well, I will say this, Maggie. Last year, at least you knew what the identity of the Knicks were.
Yeah.
You knew it. You said to yourself, all right, well, there might be limitations to that identity, but you knew what they were. You knew that they were going to bring the defense every single night. Maggie, I ask you this question. What exactly are the Knicks here this season through the first 15 games? How would you define Knicks basketball?
I'm going to be kind, I guess, and just say a team that's still figuring it out. And, hopefully that answer is going to come, but that's also where you get into the identity of the head coach. Sometimes, Tibbs, for all of the great things that he does, this is a guy who likes tight rotations and can be pretty stubborn at times about what he likes. Now, we'll ride with Tibbs because he's obviously made an instant impact on this team. The reason why there are expectations on the Knicks this year, to me, 2 people, Tibbs and Randle, what they've been able to do for the Knicks and totally turn them around. So I'm not going to skewer the guy, but it's time for the coaching staff to start maybe tinkering here and to start defining roles in a different way or looking at players in a different way. Because this is an important season for the Knicks for a lot of reasons. One, you don't want to think that last year was a fluke.
Yes.
You don't want last year to be, well, you didn't have crowds in the building and you had, Julius Randle, who nobody saw coming, and RJ took a step forward and yada, 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 and Tibbs and the culture and Derrick Rose trade and everything that happened. You got to show that you're actually for real here. You want to show that, especially in the Eastern Conference, where it's just everyone seems like they've taken a step up. Listen, I see that, the Milwaukee Bucks are 7-8, the Hawks are 7-9. It's not all reflecting in the record, but look at the start that the Wizards are off to. The Nets are going to be there. The Chicago Bulls people expected they were going to have a good season. They've been a revelation. By the way, the Heat are back. By the way, the Charlotte Hornets are really interesting and fun to watch. By the way, the Cavaliers play a really good and fun style of basketball. I'm not saying it, and we haven't even mentioned what's going on with the 76ers and when they get right. Boston Celtics, all that, and then obviously the reigning champions, the Bucks, maybe going through a little championship hangover and had some players out. Knicks got to show they're for real. And I'm not saying for real like championship contender. I'm saying, are they going to be relegated to the play-in tournament? Are they going to show that they actually are one of the top seeds in the NBA and the Eastern Conference? Like, what's it going to be here for the Knicks, Tom Thibodeau, and Julius Randle?
Yeah, and you made moves, and you're right. That's where it falls on two men. It falls on Thibodeau, and it falls on Randle. Mm-hmm. And for the Knicks fan right now, you have every right to be concerned. You have every right to be concerned because of the way that Randle's played here through the first 15 games, and you have every right to be concerned about the way that this team has played through 15 games for their head coach and Tom Thibodeau, and the tweaking that needs to get done, and what exactly is going to define this team. Last year was all about Randle. It was all about the defense. It was a revelation. Knicks became an enjoyable watch. You knew what Tom Thibodeau was bringing every single night. You knew that there were limitations in spots, but you knew that they were going to defend and bring the energy and the effort every single night. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the alarming aspect watching the Knicks right now is they're an 8-7 team. You don't know what their identity is. Their effort has been called out on multiple occasions. The defense is massively concerning. And the offensive players that you thought would make up for the defensive deficiencies as they are as individuals are not consistent enough offensively. That's where we are with this Knicks team. Like, that's what you're watching last night. Like, I could not believe that the Orlando Magic last night beat the Knicks for a second straight time.
Well, and also they just look totally unorganized on the stretch. It's like, what are we watching here? This just doesn't make a lot of sense. 877-337-6666. Want to hear from you about the Knicks. By the way, are you back courtside with the Lakers coming to town?
No.
That's a no?
No, not right now, no.
Okay.
No, Gary.
On hold?
Well, yeah, I got called out a little bit yesterday because Hoffman went to the Clays the night that the first night.
Oh, you're doing the Clays
sick.
now, too?
I did not. No, I was just kind of poking fun at it. But so Hoffman went with McPherson, with Evan's dad, Biseglia, to the Clays. And
yeah, I saw the photo.
Right. And they ate food that was provided in the luxury box, but Pete was not sure if it was provided by the other group that was in the luxury box or if it was Odyssey that actually paid for the food. Pete waited until the third quarter to start eating the food. So I got on Pete yesterday because he had 2 plates of salad, 3 pot stickers, and a chicken finger.
Yeah.
Didn't take the cookie on the way out and didn't have a to-go tray. Now, I mentioned
who eats salad at a game?
I'm trying to watch my weight. So I had salad. That's what there was nothing else to eat. I know, but that's what I was.
You could have a salad
available
for lunch.
I did.
Oh, look at you! Wow, look at you, commitment right before the holidays.
So somebody called up and said basically, "Well, Moose, how do you get on Hoffman? You left the Knicks game after the third quarter opening night against the Celtics." I said, "That's fine." So right after that, Gary reached out to me,
right,
and said, "Don't worry."
He always he swings in like Tarzan. Gary does to defend you.
He said, "Don't worry, I'm going to take care.
You're going to get back."
I'm going to get back.
Yeah, listen, not for you calling me out over here.
Enjoy that Pistons game.
I waited 3
Listen, I'm just...
Whenever it comes.
I'm there to be seen.
You're a man of the people. You got to give what they want. Like JB Smooth last night, holding court at the Garden.
I'm just there.
It's more entertaining.
Listen, if I can get to another game with Gary, it'd be great. There's no pressure on Gary. I understand he's got courtside seats, but whatever he can do, I'm more than grateful. It'd be great to get back to Madison Square Garden. Let's head out to Staten Island. It's Derek, first up here on this midday Thursday. What's going on, Derek?
Hey, how you doing, guys? I just want to comment on the Knicks last night.
What do you think?
Yeah, I saw that game. Julius Randle, what happened to him? I mean, he's one-dimensional now. He doesn't drive to the basket. I mean, and then I understand what Thibodeau's trying to do with the second unit. He played Randle on that unit for a little bit instead of Toppin, and that's a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
That's a mistake. I know you're trying different things, but that second unit is successful with Toppin.
Yep.
And it's not with Randle. Randle's on another. Oh my God, what a regression!
Well, here's what I don't, Derek. Why is Julius Randle not going down low? Why is Julius Randle not drawing contact? Why is Randle last night attempting 10 threes? How is that Julius Randle's game?
The defense has gotten to him. They know that he likes to barrel through, and you could see it in the Hawks series last year. He couldn't do anything, and people are getting hit to that. And the only thing he's settling for are his threes. And that's what makes Randle a boring player. And his game is gone. I don't know what happened to him.
Wow,
Well,
I hope his game's not gone.
Well, it better
else
not.
The Knicks are in big trouble.
Yeah, I mean, it better not be gone.
Yeah.
But I think he is here. He is a foundation piece for this team. Randle's got to be better. He's got to find a way. And I know it's an up and down regular season. I understand. We all understand it's 82 games, Maggie. But, Julius Randle, and rightfully so, got the contract that he got, during the offseason. He got that contract to be the guy here in New York. So we can on any singular night, anybody can rise above and be the offensive player. But if
we saw that with Ricky Rubio last week.
If the argument is that Randle has to consistently be the best Knick to this team this year in order for the Knicks to win, well, the answer to that is yes.
Mm-hmm.
And he has not been that through 15 games. This team is 8-7 for a myriad of different reasons. They're 8-7, but you put Randle at the top. With his consistent play, you have not gotten the Julius Randle that you did a year ago. Like, you look at that box score and you say, well, something's got to be wrong. And I know the defensive adjustments for Randle to go into a game where he attempts 11 shots and 10 of them are threes. That is not Julius Randle's game.